Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here. We got a fun one. Taryn just finished up a live feed update here on a Saturday. Taryn, you ready to jump in and talk to another family member of a Big Brother 25 player?
Oh, I'm very excited. I've got sound clips ready. This is my favorite.
Beat you, Zach.
Okay. All right. Here he is, of course, our great friend. And for the introducing to a Big Brother audience that there's actually a Survivor playing brother of this season's Corey. It's Zach Wurtenberger.
Thank you guys so much. It's such an honor. You know, there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't podcast with someone who went out on the first boot,
Mm-hmm.
who wouldn't want to, they just don't respect people who go out on the first boot. They'd be friends with them. But it's just like a personal preference thing. And I'm glad you guys aren't like that.
Yeah, we're not like that. And so
We don't hold those preferences.
Yes.
No, yeah.
The preferences. Got it. Yes. Look, it depends how many days you last on Survivor. Some people there's some people that they last 25, 26 days,
Yeah.
38 days, some people
Uh-huh.
are over 100 days.
I lasted what we call a half Luke.
All right. So, so excited that Zach is here. If your brother wasn't on this season, it would be fun to talk about Big Brother with you. So, it's extra fun to have you to talk some Big Brother with watching your brother in the house. What's that been like for you?
It's been very surreal in a lot of ways, obviously. It's not seeing him on the show because at this point, like I've seen people I know on reality TV, like I've seen myself. It's more so like for that, it's just seeing like, oh, this is Corey's turn. Now Corey's getting his chance, like to do all of this. It's more so been the differences because I've done this with Survivor a million times at this point. Big Brother is a nightmare. It is.
Well, especially in the Scaryverse.
Yeah,
In the
it
Nether
is.
region.
Right. Like I feel like the Nether Gorgon.
Where
At 2 a.m.
where Corey spent the first night, a couple of moments with the Nether Gorgon.
Oh, it's really like the show itself, the experience of watching as someone who has like a sole interest of is this
And
good for Corey?
Nether
Is this
Gorgon
bad
loves
for Corey?
souls.
He does love souls.
Mhm.
I didn't watch the Nether Gorgon episode, unfortunately, so I'm not up to date on the
I don't
lore.
sorry for the spoilers.
But yeah, I'm surprised we even got to see him. But yeah, it's been very, very surreal and fun when it's fun, and like very not fun in the few moments where it's not been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
go ahead.
I think that like Big Brother for family members is probably one of the most stressful shows in existence.
It has to be the most stressful. I can't imagine anything
Yeah,
worse than 24-hour like.
right. Just at any given moment, you could read something that's like, "Oh crap," you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's. I mean, I don't envy your situation.
Well, with Corey right now, it's not even like because he's doing good in the game. It's just we're literally watching it, being like, okay, but when is this Jared Cirie thing going to destroy his entire game?
Right.
Like it's this ticking time bomb that we're sitting there
Mhm.
knowing it's going to happen at some point, and we're just like waiting, being like, all right, just make it to jury, don't do anything till jury, and then this whole thing can destroy your game, and then that's fine.
Yeah, Zach,
Yeah.
I had seen you tweet very early on in the season that he did watch Survivor Game Changers. You thought he might maybe know who Jared was. Are you surprised that he hasn't put this together?
No, I'm absolutely not surprised that he would never put this together. There was always like this small chance. And I mean, look, Izzy would manage to do it, so clearly like some people are able to. But the only chance I thought was that he would be on the lookout for it because he's like, has a brother who is on Survivor himself. He's a little bit more aware that like this is something that they're doing during the season. But like, just imagine, what if he guesses that, and what if he's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not taking that risk. You crazy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like what if he thought for like maybe Cirie had a brother named Denzel? Like
Yeah.
that'd be weird.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's the idiot. Now he's like, So even if like that thought entered his mind, he would never actually like, you know, he would never let it formulate. The real case could be that Jared or Izzy themselves screw it up for the whole group. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to come up with it.
Okay, so early on, Corey ends up on the block after night one. Can you just talk about what that was like for you to watch him go through basically a very tense, like first, 24, 36 hours where it looked like that he had a very decent shot to go home in week one?
Oh yeah, that was like one of the worst nights of
Hmm.
my life and my family's life, just because it was very like, and I get the Wurtenberger curse things are funny, and like we were able to look at it from the outside and be like, in a few months this is going to be funny, but in the moment, like my biggest fear, because look, I went out first, right? I have plenty of friends who went out super early. It's not the worst thing that can happen in your life. I just wanted Cordy to have a fair chance at playing. And it felt very much in that moment like he wouldn't get that chance when he was taken out of the house immediately. When like he's the kind of player that I feel like needs a couple of days to like get his social footing, and he wasn't going to have that. He was starting on the block. I had this like nightmare of like he's going to start on the block, just instantly be like, all right, this is the house target. No one's going to really want to talk to him, and get out week one. And that would have been horrible. So the first 2 days I like barely watched. I had like Owen sending me text updates on like anything positive that was happening with him.
Hmm.
And then like the morning of day 3, I wake up and all of a sudden I'm listening to the update and it's like, yeah, he talked to Riley and he saved himself.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. And it's interesting that one conversation with Riley was the one time that he revealed that, he has a brother who is on Survivor. It's just so interesting. So that was the one time he played that card. Has not come up since, to my knowledge, Taryn. And she's gone. And now
Yeah.
kind of the toothpaste is back in the tube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm confused about Izzy though.
Yeah, you think that? Well, are you saying that? Oh, Izzy self-reported that she's not that big of a Survivor fan because she did not see the Wurtenberger family resemblance.
No, Taryn, am I mistaken, or has he like mentioned how Izzy knows?
I don't think so. Because so he well, it is confusing. So last night he was talking to the cameras. He said that he is concerned about Izzy long term. She's too close to Cirie, and would love for Cirie and Izzy to go up on the block so that Izzy can leave. And then at that point, he might drop the Zach secret on Cirie, which to me it certainly seems to still imply that he doesn't think that either of them, or certainly that Cirie doesn't know. I don't know why he wouldn't think that Izzy would tell Cirie if she did know, and I would assume that Izzy would tell Cirie if she did know. So I don't think she knows. But there is like this idea that she might know that is out there, but I'm not entirely sure where it came from.
There's no chance Cirie knows who I am.
There's no chance she knows who you are.
No chance. She doesn't use social media. Like you wouldn't, if you're just watching the show, you would have no recollection of it.
I feel like that Cirie goes on like for many seasons would like watch the episode on Instagram and talk about during the commercial. I think that Cirie knows who you are.
Well, what would really happen, I think, is if he told Cirie, he would be like, "Oh, my brother is Zach Wurtenberger." She would be like, "That means nothing to me." He would then say he was on Marianne season. He's good friends with Marianne, and she would be like, "Oh, Marianne!
Yeah.
I love Marianne. You know Marianne?"
So you've never had any interaction with Cirie?
No, other than sending her a DM after Corey and Jared got announced.
Yes. Okay. So that's going to be very funny when she gets back to her social media.
Well,
What about? Go ahead.
I'm interested. I'm interested in like if he does end up eventually telling Cirie, that like obviously I think it could strengthen their bond because it's like a connection. But I also worry a little bit like, okay, what if he tells her and she thinks, oh crap, he has a survivor family member. Does that mean he's going to be thinking more critically about me and Jared? You know, I think that given the fact that he hasn't already, she shouldn't be concerned. But you know, we've seen Cirie in there. Like she likes to cut problems off before they have a chance to grow.
I think that Corey, look, he's a super duper fan of these shows, right? So he's coming into a season where he's very aware of like, oh, this is Redemption Island, this is Big Brother 19, this is the one returning player, and I've seen very clearly how it goes when you're the one person fighting against the one returning player. So it's interesting watching him kind of get this like nightmare setup essentially, and knowing well enough that like the way to success in one of these seasons is becoming the person for that player. And I think the key for Corey is that he like obviously wants to get as close to her, but like he's talking about final 8, final 10, final 9, final 8. If he won like the final 7 HOH, I don't think there's a chance he doesn't take the shot at her there.
Yeah, I agree. He wants to take shots. It's really interesting because unfortunately he doesn't know about Jared, and so as you said, we're like waiting for that bomb. But he does recognize that Jared is really close to Cirie and Izzy. You know, he's something that he's very good at is when he like puts feelers out, he recognizes what the response is and he will retract those feelers. So when he talked about potentially going to having a different end game than Cirie and Izzy with Jared, and Jared was like, no, what do you mean? I thought we talked about how it's really good to do that. He was like, oh yeah, that's definitely good. Hasn't mentioned it since with Jared, but took note of it. And has been like, okay, so Jared really wants that end game. And now I know not to say otherwise to Jared. So he's close, but he doesn't quite see all the way to the connection that Jared will basically spill everything to Cirie. But it does seem like he's getting there.
And Jared, you talked about it on the update this morning, Taryn. If Jared reveals his own secret, I mean, this isn't great for Corey. He could just go like, hey, also, Cirie, guess what? And doesn't have to worry about any danger of detection.
Yeah. I mean, if I think, and Zach, you might have an opinion on this. I feel like if you saw this conversation last night, Jared hinting at his secret in the house to Blue, if he had done that with Corey, I do think there's a chance Corey would have been able to figure it out. Like,
oh yeah, Corey would have absolutely taken that as like he has a secret.
Yeah.
What does he mean he has a secret? I'll figure it out outside the house. Like he would go to bed that night playing it over again and again and again. And I think, when we think about secrets in the Big Brother house, the family connection is one of like the classic ones. So I think he definitely would have figured out. I know you've disagreed with this. I really think that Izzy, especially after like all this friction with Jared, could end up being the one. Not now, but if she gets to like final 7, final 6, and starts thinking like, wait, I can actually win this game, I think that Izzy could actually be the one who reveals this all.
I think that's right. I haven't been super high on that idea until yesterday when she started talking to herself about like, am I really gonna do this? And it feels to me, especially like Izzy was having a conversation with Corey right before we started recording, where she was reiterating to him like, Crossroads, Final Four, that's what I want. It almost does feel to me like it wouldn't surprise me if the thought crossed her head that if we do get to Final Four with Corey, I will then tell Corey and it will be us two versus them two. That would not surprise me at all. On top of that, I think her conversation with Jared last night was like not great.
Well, don't forget, Taryn, Izzy went up to Jared and said, hey, let's make this official on the first night. Jared's not gonna that. He can't work with somebody like that long term.
Jared was talking to Cirie about wanting to get rid of Izzy now. So
that's why Jared didn't trust Corey at the start. He was like, So he went off with the Nether Gorgon.
I thought
Nobody
he was
knows
more
what they did
intelligent than
there
that.
on the first night.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So, interesting though.
And it is interesting. I think the biggest obstacle to Izzy talking is that she would never do it to Cirie. Like Cirie, as long as Cirie is there and capable of like keeping her in the Cirie land,
Yeah.
I don't think she will ever want to do it. There are like some small chances that like, hey, if she ends up on the block against Cirie, she might like be like, okay, am I really gonna go down without fighting? I could see it then, and then I think again toward the end game when it's like, okay, nobody else left really. Now it's time for me to try to win myself. And then the other thought I had was if she does end up going to jury, and like I would assume Cirie is telling her like, please don't tell anyone in the jury, because why? She certainly wouldn't want it to be told. But without Cirie's influence there, I could see Izzy starting to fester with all of this. Like, I really just gave my game away for these people, and then deciding maybe I do want to tell. So I don't know. I think those are the three biggest instances where I could see the secret being leaked by Izzy.
I
But
also think
Jared might beat her to it.
I think that you right. I think that like Izzy does feel this like debt and this love for the fields, but I think you get to like final 7 and it's kind of like, okay, like they made the final 7. Like I helped them get this far. I don't owe them the win. And especially like when she's already having like strife with them. I really feel like this actually is, you know, the Izzy bomb is on a countdown. At least I'm hoping. At least that might be me like you know.
Yeah.
Illusioning.
I will say this with Jared talking to Cirie about wanting to take Izzy out. I mean, Cirie is telling him no, but that's another one where like if Izzy catches Jared trying to take a shot at her or just blatantly takes a shot at her, I could see her then being like, okay, well, screw you then.
Yeah, and there could be some sort of like sibling rivalry that ultimately ends up developing of like, you know, Cirie, who are you gonna pick? Like me, like who's been loyal to you this whole time, or your son who's doing like all sorts of things that I don't approve of.
I hope
And then
so.
and then when Cirie picks Jared, like Izzy could feel some type of way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
All right.
that would be insane.
Yes. Look, that's all for fan fiction in the future. But Zach, tell us some things that you've seen from Corey that maybe like haven't gotten enough attention from your perspective.
I think that with Corey, one, okay, I'll go into like the just knowing him and then also like the strategic part of it. One, it's so funny watching him as the person I've known my entire life versus the person he's pretending to be in the Big Brother house.
Mm-hmm.
The best one was the Cam talk where he's like, you know, or it wouldn't be a Corey podcast if I don't say the F word like 20 times. So I'll just say
And
F.
yo.
Yeah. At home, I've got 5 effing friends, and all we effing do is play Valorant together. Like, that's true. That's like what he does. The most shocking thing for me from him was that he was willing to share a bed with Jag. Like, he would
He didn't
never.
love it.
No,
Yeah.
but that's what's so funny is when I saw that on the show, I was like, he wouldn't even like sleep in a bed with me on like family vacations. Like, he has to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's doing this. And then to see him in the Cam talk, just so upset about it. Is
Sharing a bed.
I'm like, that's who he is. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing it for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is like, obviously we would talk a lot about the game beforehand, like his strategies going in. And it's been really interesting seeing the ones that he's done that have worked and the ones he's still trying to do that like necessarily haven't worked yet, but like I think he's been able to like kind of recover well from.
Yeah. What are some
like,
of those strategies?
specifically, what are you talking about?
Like, so I think one of the best ones was the Riley conversation.
Yeah.
Like that was something that obviously we had talked about beforehand. Like, you know, everyone thinks about that. Like, what do you do if you're on the block week 1? And what we, you know, talked about was you basically give them the entire world. You promise them everything. You don't let it happen. You say, I will be with you till the end of time. That's where he gave up the info about me, which is like, you know, who cares about that, right? But it is something that he was able to give her. And that worked extremely well. And that's like why he was able to stay. And then one that I think hasn't worked as well, which has been so interesting to watch, is he wants so bad to have Kevin and Helena.
Mm-hmm.
He wants that so bad, and he's been trying so hard with Mimi.
Yeah.
And it is not working. She has like no interest in him, which is her mistake. Like he would be a great ally for her. And it's kind of been like watching him do that. It's like, you know, you want him to take the hints, but he kind of is at the point where he's like, okay, like she clearly is not reciprocating this, and he's like trying to move on. But it's been interesting watching that relationship as something he talked a lot about before the game, not being something that's been able to materialize for him.
Yeah, I think if anything, like his Helena would have been somebody like Izzy, because they do connect really well when they talk in the morning. But obviously Izzy is so interconnected with everything else at this point. And then he also now has this relationship with America, but it's already blown up so big that he's like, ah, it's annoying. Like it's hard to be hard to get to the end with America because everyone sees us together already. I know this has been a big topic of conversation. Lots of the shippers are out in full force. They've fallen in love with. I
That's
don't
the
know what they call
Wurtenberger
them.
curse, Taryn. It happened with Zach and Marianne, and now happens with Corey.
Zach, how do you think? Brother's expert opinion. Is this a thing? Is it even close to a thing?
AmeriCorey. Let me think. I think that if they both can make it to jury, that will be the secret. I think that there is no chance in hell, in the nether region,
Yes.
that Corey would make, like, you know, go for that on national TV. He's so keenly aware of the cameras everywhere. He does not want. He did
And he
not
won't
come
share
in,
a bed with anybody.
no, no. He did not come in with the idea of getting into a showmance. This has probably been like the most.
But look at Matt and Franny. Sometimes it finds you.
That's true. Similar age gap.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think Matt and Franny are actually smaller. I think that was 23 and
No,
28.
Matt's huge.
Right, like they're the shrunken Matt and Franny.
I mean, could they Claire and Derek it? You know, if they're both in the jury house.
Oh.
You know?
That's what I see as a possibility. I think that could really
and
happen.
then the Wurtenberger family has the trifecta.
Oh, if they go on The Amazing Race,
Mm-hmm.
you'll never hear from me again.
Yes.
I
Or
couldn't believe
yes, or you'd be so mad because you want to go on the Amazing Race with Corey.
you would Marianne would send like a tweet. It would be like 50 unread texts from me. Come on,
Yeah.
do this for me, please.
So we saw how in week 1, Hisam really seemed to have a real annoyance with Corey. First off, like, you know, I know you had a lot of fun tweets about it, but just like, what was that like to see, just like from like a brother perspective?
It was it's been like kind of a full flip, because at the start, when he was in these group settings, when Corey wasn't necessarily popular in the house, it was really like, who the hell is this guy? Who does he think he is? Talking about my brother's smirk. I'm like, maybe he just has like that face. Maybe he just always looks like he's smirking. Like, and then like when he's in a room with Cirie and Izzy and like they're all shit talking Corey, I'm sitting there. I'm like, I guess I hate Cirie now.
Wow.
I guess Cirie's a horrible person. Like that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I even got in an
Watch
argument
out
with,
of context. Okay.
right. I got an argument with Shannon because I was really heated and we were
Yes.
watching that song, and I was like, I just think Cirie took it beyond the game, which was so like ridiculous. I was so like absolutely in the wrong there, but that's how it started. And then as the tides have shifted, I just didn't want like a group mob mentality against my brother. And once that became clear that wasn't happening, especially once Hisam became kind of the one that the mob was going against, I grew to love Hisam. I think he is a star on the season. I think he truly is the measure of like, if you wanted like a villain on reality TV, you cannot complain about Hisam.
Yeah.
He is doing everything you want. People are like, "Oh, he's condescending." I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and I do want to say, because I saw like there was one thing that was like about all this Hisam hate, and they were like naming me as like the main Hisam hater, and I was like, first of all, I love Hisam.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, don't ever send reality TV people hate like that's outside of the game. You can make fun of them, you can like talk shit about their game, whatever, but not as like people in the real world. So
Mm-hmm.
don't do that about Hisam.
Yeah.
Maybe like one person on the season you could do that about, but not Hisam.
Zach, what's this been like for the rest of your family? Because your mom, of course, a great patron of this podcast. She like I got to have the firsthand experience of watching you go on to Survivor, but this is different. This is now 24/7 live feeds. Like, is your family able to be doing anything else other than just like watching the live feeds?
Well, my mom changes how she feels every 5 minutes, depending on like literally what's happening in the exact moment. So she's like very tuned into everything, but like, and things have been really good for Corey recently.
Yeah.
But the moment that there's like I think there was one conversation that was like him and Mimi, and then Mimi might have like rolled her eyes afterwards, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like just inconsolable after that. Like that one eye roll was enough for her to be like, "We hate Mimi."
Mm-hmm.
uh, so she's loving it on the whole, except for like anytime anything bad happens ever. And then the rest of my family is just so funny because like a lot of them will like watch, they would keep up to date because they knew that we loved it, but they really didn't watch it. And now I have my like, you know, uncle like messaging me, or not messaging me. My uncle is texting me and he's asking me like, so hypothetically, at the final six, when the veto draw is only six people, how do they? I'm like, you're really thinking about the final six right now?
Wow.
He's like, well, Corey had mentioned how it'd be like him, Cirie, Izzy, like, people are getting really into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Putting the cart ahead of the horse. But look, you got a dream.
Just like Corey, that was my favorite thing he was doing. He was like, if I win the game,
Yeah.
I think I'd be like a mid-tier winner at
Yeah.
this point.
Like some Steve Moses upside.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was rallying people for the stock watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so funny because I'm sure you guys have had this experience several times. And I'm curious to hear from you guys. What was because you obviously have had returning players come on that you've like known and stuff. Who was the player that has gone and played one of these shows that you've had the most like emotional investment
Mm-hmm.
in their success in watching them?
So, I mean, for me, with Survivor so many times, I feel like that with Big Brother, it hasn't really happened so much. I guess maybe like the closest might have been, Ian, who had been on the podcast for years, went back on for Big Brother 22, but really he had not been like, podcasting with us regularly for some time before that. Maybe a little bit of like Kevin in Big Brother Canada 5 in terms of people that we knew that who went back and played again. But with the survivors, there's so many, and certainly, winners at war. But the one that's really is like is closest to home was when Steven went back for Survivor Second Chances. And that was hard. That was very hard because not only did Steven go back, but also Spencer, who was very involved in the Survivor community at that time, went back also. And that was like it was really hard because Survivor is different than Big Brother. The outcome is already determined. It's not like that you're watching it in real time. But Steven was unhappy with some of the things that I was saying about what was going on in the game. Of like, hey, like how could you say that about me? That totally was edited out of sequence. Like that wasn't what happened. Like and you're just like so it was hard.
Yeah, I think Survivor, it's like easier to emotionally detach because it's already happened and you're seeing an edited version versus Big Brother that's happening live and it's like, as you talked about, like 24/7, just like anything could happen. But yeah, I think Kevin probably in BB Can 5
Mhm.
was the most rooting interest. That said, in any show, when I was watching The Amazing Race and Claire and Derek were on there, I was like,
Oh, sure, sure.
I
Yeah.
was pretty pumped.
Yeah. And it's hard to podcast about it because the person and again, I guess everybody's different, but I feel like that the person who's on the show would like you to say like, "Hey, like my thumb is on the scale. This is my friend. Like I gotta like I'm here to talk about my friend." And but I do think that a lot of the audience, at least it's my read, that the audience still wants you to like call it down the middle, like as if you didn't know the person who was on the podcast. And so, I find that sometimes like I might be like a little extra like nitpicky on people I know who go back because I don't want to have like people in the audience say I'm being biased.
Yeah, I've had this. Obviously, I've never had an experience like this, but I've had the experience of having people on 43, 44, 45 that like I'll get to meet, I'll get to know before I actually watch them. And, it can be really tough, especially like when they don't do well. And in
Hmm.
Survivor, it's like, you know, they'll know if they don't do well. But for someone like Maddie, for instance, from 44, I had no clue she was going to be the first one out. I watched that. I'm like heartbroken for her because I know she's going through the exact same thing I did. But then with Maddie, I'm able to immediately like text her and
Hmm.
she's there. And I'm
Yeah.
able to like confirm that she's okay, she's good, like we can talk the next day. Big Brother, if something goes wrong for Corey that first week, my biggest nightmare, like the thing that would have been like actual hell and like probably would have ruined these shows for me is if Corey was evicted week 1 after not really getting a chance to like play, have a fair shake at it. And then if he was sent into like a pre-jury buyback
Yeah.
situation where he was stuck in a hotel alone for over a month,
Hmm.
not able to contact us, just for him to like go and do the buyback and then lose the buyback probably, because it probably would have been like a very small chance for the first boot to like come through all those rounds and stuff.
Hmm.
That for me was like my biggest nightmare. And that's the hard part of Big Brother specifically is that like you can't contact them. There's no, and it's okay for Corey now because he's doing so well. But you think of someone like Hisam's family right now watching like literally the shoe about to drop, most likely
Hmm.
on him, and it's a brutal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the thing is too, like obviously there were plenty of good reasons for people to be annoyed by Heisem in the house and plenty of good reasons for them to flip on him.
Yeah,
But like it always happens, no matter how many good, reasonable reasons there were to start the thing. Now anything he does annoys them,
yeah,
whether it's fair or not for them to be annoyed by it. And I can only imagine like even if you're like like you're a family member that's like, listen, he made some mistakes. I get that. But then when you have to watch them be like, oh my God, did you see the way he walked into that room? You're like, come on.
right, right. And it's like we still have that image of Hisam in our mind as like the one in charge, the one calling the shots, and it's like that is just so far removed from the truth.
Hmm.
And not to say anyone in the house is doing anything wrong or like, it's a game. It's all
It's what
that.
happens. It happens
It happens every
every time.
season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just tough.
So and we're recording this on Saturday, so the veto hasn't been played. But as of right now, still the plan is for Heisem to be a backdoor target. Not to look too far ahead, Zach, but if we got to a post Heisem world coming up next week, how do you think that Corey is situated to move forward in a post Heisem world?
I think at this exact moment, because this house changes every 5 seconds,
Hmm.
I think he's got a very clear shot for jury in my mind. I think that
Hmm.
it would take him making a lot of mistakes and players who have not been playing very optimally to start playing very optimally, for him to be in like any immediate danger, knock on wood.
Hmm.
I think he was right. He was like Cameron and Jag. He was like, one of them is going to be pre-jury and one of them will sneak through. So you can take there. I think Red's in a lot of danger. I think someone's going to win HOH and Red is going to be like the easy,
Hmm.
this is no blood on my hands.
Collateral damage. Yeah.
Yeah, let me take him out. And then I also think someone like Blue as well could be another easy one. And I think that
If
if a
Cirie wins
Blue
HOH, yeah.
if a Blue won HOH, for instance, I just couldn't imagine Corey being the one that she was like, all right, this is my shot. This is my move. I'm going to take Corey out right now. I don't know. Taryn, what do you think would be like, if we can map out, what's the worst case scenario HOH right now for Corey?
I think the worst case scenario for Corey is, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily any one worst case HOH, but I think that the thing that could really ruin him quick
Mm-hmm.
is if he had a conversation with Jared where he finally went too far.
Yeah.
And he talked about like end game plans, and he talked about like, so I'm thinking, what if we pull in Matt? What if we pull in America? And we make a move and we maybe take out Izzy. Granted, Jared's kind of on board to take out Izzy right now, but even so, like bringing that back to Cirie, if Cirie has so much power right now, she has so many options. The slightest thing to make her feel like Corey is not as on board as she thinks he is, and that he might even have some people, she could unleash an army against him, and
I'm
any one of them could win, and it could be
I'm
bad.
really not concerned about that until jury. I
Mhm.
just don't. I think that he's very like in survival mode right now of like make it through this week, make it through next week. I don't need to be controlling things. The moment jury starts, I could totally see that happening.
I think you're right, because especially because that time he did kind of toe the line with Jared, as we talked about. Like he seemed to recognize that Jared wasn't receptive,
Yeah.
and he backed off. And now he's talking. He knows that Jared is really close to Cirie and Izzy, and he wants to go to the end with Cirie and Izzy. And so, and Jared, for what it's worth, also seems very invested in Corey. He's only ever backed Corey up to Izzy and Cirie, and Izzy also really likes Corey and also really wants to go deep with Corey. So. He's got a little bit of wiggle room where even if he does go a little too far, they have the faith in him to not punish him for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, could you talk a little bit about Corey's signature look, which he's been bringing into the Big Brother 25 house? Is that like how a lot of the ways that he would dress in real life?
I am wearing his signature flesh pink right now, actually, in his honor.
Yes.
Um, we'll go item by item, right? The hat he wears a lot. That hat actually, and I never made the Timmy Turner connection because he never did the full ensemble. But the hat was a common wardrobe choice. I
Okay.
think what happened is he really likes that hat, and then he went to the store and was like, "I'll take one of everything," because I've never seen the full like pale man getup that he has right now of just pink on pink on pink on pink. And he should know that he is not the right skin tone for that. Like he is
Right.
too white.
Right. I
Hot
mean,
pinks he could maybe pull off, but like this
I
yeah.
mean,
is not a
we
look.
know that he went in wanting to play the little brother role. Was it intentional? Like, because I mean, it definitely helps a certain perception of him. I think that's like very like little kid.
I can't imagine that he was. We never discussed, like we never went down the Tory
Yes, I was gonna
mayhem.
bring up Tori. Yes.
Right. Like, what colors are you going to use? I do know, however, that the little brother thing is very intentional from him. It's very much what he wanted to play, in kind of like a Carson way, in a Kevin Jacobs way. I know that was like a very big inspiration for him. So the things he's doing, like sitting lower to like those parts of the game are in there. I don't think I don't think that the his wardrobe played into that.
Maybe he feels like he's like invisible if he's like all flesh colored.
Maybe he wants to be like the little brother who was just born.
Be the newborn baby.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Can I ask about Corey's sense of humor, because he's been making some jokes that are oh yeah, I'm totally gonna betray you in 3 weeks, or yeah, oh yeah, I'm just like spying on you. That's like, they sent me to spy on you and I'm gonna tell them everything. And then most recently he joked about the people in the middle having an alliance called the Middlemen, which Cirie took seriously and thinks that there's now an alliance called the Middlemen that he is in. Is this something that you anticipated would be part of his game?
It's not something that I had the foresight to warn him about, but the moment I started seeing this come up, I was just like, "Oh, yup, yup."
Mhm.
No, that I should have realized
But I
that.
feel like you have a little bit of this
I do
also.
too. We both
Yeah.
have the same issue. And like it'll come up when we would play like something like Mafia or Werewolf or Secret Hitler, right? His his logic on this is the fact of like it's kind of like the fact that I'm explaining to you that I could screw you over and I could screw you over very easily. And the fact that I'm telling you this is proof that I'm not going to do it, which makes sense to me, makes sense to him, but I don't think for like a lot of people in the house, they're hearing it as like, wait, you can screw me over?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the sort of thing where it's there's like an underlying assumption that the person you're talking to is on the same wavelength about those possibilities. But in
Mhm.
reality, you might be talking to somebody who has not thought of that possibility before.
Yeah.
And so you're just either telling them or reminding them that it is a possibility.
Yeah, that's I mean, the middleman thing is funny. I do like that it seems like it's blown up more on Mimi
Yeah.
Mhm.
than on Corey, who he didn't even name, which is awesome. But
Zach,
yeah.
will it be annoying if at the end of all this, if Corey has more Twitter followers than you do?
Oh, he's going to have more Twitter followers than me.
Big
That's,
Brother players in general seem
Mhm.
to over Survivor in the first place,
look,
right?
look, Corey is already like he's given me a bump. Like
Yeah.
every I don't look at it in terms of like how many followers I have. I just look at it in terms of like who I beat. So like through Big Brother, I've beaten Omer. That's a huge
Yep.
one.
Ooh.
Yep. Beat you, Omer.
I've beaten Owen.
Beat you, Owen.
Owen is final three. Owen was like one of the main characters
Mhm.
of the season. That's pretty crazy. I've
Yeah.
beaten Drea. She's an influencer.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who would have
I
thought
think
on day
yeah.
3? Who would have thought on day 4 of Ika that one day I would have more Twitter followers than Drea?
Mhm.
Who would have thought?
Look at
So
it now. I
yeah.
mean,
So
not on Instagram.
oh,
I
not on
mean,
Instagram.
yeah, you got to be, working at your job for a while before you're going to be able to do that.
Right. Maybe that'll be Corey's like gift to me if he wins this thing.
Buy you Instagram followers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy for Corey's success.
Yeah.
I think the Stan accounts have been very surreal.
Oh, have
Yeah.
you've been seeing a lot of Corey Stan accounts?
There are a lot of Corey Stan accounts, which, was always a possibility. Like I saw Carson.
Yeah.
I saw what he was able to garner. Um, it's very funny to be like getting responses from people
Yeah.
who have your brother as their profile picture.
Yes. Has Bryce approached you and Corey yet about the idea of appearing together in the 2025 Zaddy calendar? And would
Oh
you
my
be open to share? And I know Corey doesn't like to share.
god.
Would you share a month with Corey?
Wow, that really would like, talk about nepo baby allegations, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Me like hopping in there with Corey. The thing is, I don't think Corey would share with me. I
Mhm.
think he would get the invite.
Mhm.
How far in Big Brother does he have to make it to be able to kick you out of his month on the Zaddy calendar?
How far does he have to make it? Well, to even get, I mean, how many Big Brother people are in
31 days. Depends on the month.
I think that Corey has to continue his current. People really like him right now, and look,
Mhm.
I know Big Brother very well, and I'm very aware that that could change on a dime. I think of someone like Cliff a lot, who Cliff
Mm,
was one of the most popular people on 21, and then at the final 5, he makes a move, and all of a sudden people were like ragging on Cliff, and now it's
Mhm.
oh, Cliff made that stupid move, like which in the moment we were like, oh, this is a real coin flip, and then it ended up not working out for him.
Mhm.
mhm.
So it can always turn, but right now I think Corey at least has a lock for the Zaddy calendar.
Yeah. Can you just give us the origin story on that? You became, one of the most knowledgeable Survivor super fans, and somehow your brother ends up going in a different direction, and he ends up sort of going to a different show in Big Brother, and really that's his dream to go be on Big Brother. How come you guys end up going these different paths?
It's the story of it, I think, is really great. Of like, I'm the Survivor super fan, he's the Big Brother super fan. Like that, it's really like nice, kind of different, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that like I'm the Survivor super fan and the Big Brother super fan, and he's the Survivor super fan and the Big Brother super fan. I know for me, I always wanted to be on Survivor because I thought that being on Big Brother sounded like a nightmare. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do the live feeds, and I didn't want to do the 24-hour. I didn't want to do the 100 days. Um, and also it was easier to get on. Straight up, Survivor's an easier show when it's twice as many people getting on, and they're looking more for people like me than Big
Yeah.
Brother is. So that was always my dream, essentially. And then, I mean, I loved Big Brother just as much, but I just wanted to do Survivor. And then after I went on, I think Corey, he never really like verbalized it as much that he wanted to be on Big Brother, really. This was
Yeah.
never like, I would talk a lot about how much I wanted to be on Survivor. And I think for him, there was an element of it where he was like, okay, I really want to do this show, but I don't actually think it's possible anymore because my brother got on and
Yeah.
they don't do that. But he I didn't even know he sent in a tape.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, actually the place where I found out that he'd gotten a call back, Rob, was the
Yes.
Raleigh Know-It-Alls.
Oh, okay.
Like he literally called me up and was like, hey, are you free for a minute? And I was like, no, not really.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, well, I just got a call back from Big Brother. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what?
Yeah. And did you then like work with him at all about like how to get through this process? Because I know you've helped people with their, casting and going for interviews.
I mean, I gave him as much help as I could, which is literally just like, hey, this is what the process looked like for me.
Yeah.
This was I had Omer was a big help because Omer had gone through the Zoom casting. I had never done Zoom casting.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to kind of like fill in the gaps essentially. And then I would like talk to him about his interviews beforehand, but like there's really nothing you can do. Because at the end of the day, it's like he goes into the room and either the interview goes well or it doesn't. And like you can only prep so much for that experience. And every time he would walk out of the interview, he would basically be like, yeah, I think I killed that.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that went well. And I feel like to get on one of these shows, you have to have that feeling after every single interview.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it was like, all right, well, you're out of interviews. Sounds like everyone went great. So now we just have to like start planning for what if you actually are on this show.
Mm-hmm. And did you help him work on a plan, or he was just like, hey, let me cook?
I helped him in the sense of like I was very much a good sounding board.
Yeah.
I think that like he's very much, if we ever disagree on something, right? Corey's not going to be someone who's like, okay, you know what? Let me really think about your perspective on this. He's going to be like, nope, you're wrong. I know what I'm doing here.
Mm-hmm.
But any like ideas that he had that he wasn't like sure about or things he wanted to talk through, we would essentially talk through. I was able to give him like the things that I regretted in my game and like, what I think would help him. I connected him with a few people that I thought would help him just so he could like also have other perspectives on people to talk with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, that was mostly, I made him like a comp Bible in my spare time. I literally like just every single comp just so we could have like all that written out, just, in case it helped.
Yeah. Going back to your own Survivor experience, I just occurred that I remember when we had spoken following Survivor, I'd asked you if anything that you had learned from the podcast helped you. And if I recall this correctly, I believe you said that actually there was something that Taryn said that you felt like that really hurt you in the game.
Yeah.
Do you know this, Taryn?
I remember hearing about it, but I don't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm. And I always took blame for it. Like I shouldn't have taken that advice because it didn't apply to Survivor. And like just in the moment, I kind of justified it to myself. But I know exactly what you're talking about, Rob.
Yeah, Taryn, do you want to apologize to Zach?
I forget what the advice was.
What it was in the game of Survivor 42. I had very good relationships with almost everyone on my tribe, except for Drea. And in my mind, I was able to kind of justify that as, okay, I don't need to have a perfect relationship with everyone because this makes, if people think that because I talked with like Tori and both of us weren't like huge fans of hers. I was like, okay, if we all kind of are on the same page as that, people won't question where my like eyes are, where my target is, and they'll be more inclined to work with me. And then I have one person who I don't have a great relationship with, and that's fine. It doesn't work on Survivor when everybody is a potential target. It does work very well though on Big Brother, and I think that has actually helped Corey a lot with Hisam.
Yeah. That was the Tommy. We talked about that a lot on season 21 when Tommy. I don't even remember who Tommy was feuding with, but
Is it Pat?
I think it was Cat. Yeah, and he had just the one person, and it was working well for him. And then of course the Kevin Martin
podcast.
with.
Yeah. So all right, well that I think that Taryn's reputation is untarnished by this, Zach. I think you now know Taryn was right. It just doesn't. He wasn't talking about Survivor.
Well,
Here,
that's. Go ahead.
This is something I want from Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can, and you might agree with me on this, so this might not even be a beef. Okay, we can agree that Cirie and Jared being on the TV show is fun. We can agree that it's great TV. Can we also agree that this is the single most unfair casting related twist that the show has ever implemented? And if not, what?
I think casting related twists, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there have been duos, there have been pairs, but there have been multiple pairs those times. Yeah. There have been twins, but that eventually gets exposed. Obviously, having a somewhat returning veteran player come in with a secret relationship son that nobody knows about, I think is probably the biggest casting advantage.
And on paper, it should be, but ultimately, I think it would be if Cirie came into this game just as the 16th house guest, probably gonna cakewalk to victory. I think the biggest challenge for her is navigating this house that her son happens to be in.
Well, see, like, I agree that Jared's kind of a mess in the game. I do still think that, like, Cirie's not where she is if she doesn't have the information on the family style. Like that Jared gave to her allowed her to basically like build the house around her. And I just want to be 100% clear, like Big Brother is not fair. It has never been fair. I'm not sitting here complaining like, oh my God, this is like, how could they do this to my brother? I just know that this is going to be his downfall. And I just want to start like when he gets voted out and people are like, oh, Corey, that idiot. How could he not see that Jared and the greatest social player of all time were in the secret final two based on blood? I'm going to be sitting there and I'm going to be like, well, I don't really think that was his fault.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's a very fair perspective. I mean, honestly, like the second Cirie, like if I was playing and I saw Cirie join my cast, I would be like, this is amazing. I'm going to lose the game though. Like I would be very annoyed for my own game, very happy that I got to play with Cirie. If I then found out that she also had a secret son in the game, I'd be like, oh, so I never even came close to having a chance to win the game.
Yeah. Zach, did you watch Traders with Corey? That I know he is aware of it, but did you have any sort of conversations with him ever about the Traders?
No, I don't think Corey watched Traders, honestly. I watched Traders, and then he asked me if he should watch it, and I was like, don't bother.
Oh no.
Well, he said he said that he knew she was on Traders, but I guess he didn't
No,
watch.
and he knows she won.
Yeah.
Like he's
So
very
he does not know how ruthless she was.
well, but it doesn't matter because he knows like he's seen all of her Survivor. Like he knows
Mhm.
exactly what I didn't watch Traders and be like, wow,
Yeah.
Cirie is a good player. Like
Yeah.
that was already good.
But I think it would be informative because like especially like some of like the alliance structure of like what
Mhm.
Cirie has around her, like towards the end of the end game in Traders, like I think you can squint and kind of see like, oh yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah,
That's why specifically I think she is so concerned. Like when Cameron brought up Traders, she was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Traders is the thing I want kept on the down low. And I think Corey mentioning Traders was one of the things that initially got her so concerned about him.
there is a really great I saw a tweet that was like a really great comparison of the Crossroads to like the Traders Final Four with
Mhm.
like Izzy as Andy,
Yeah.
Jared as Quentin, and then Corey as I don't even remember his name. The
The
other
Arlie?
was it Arlie?
Ari, I think.
Ari,
Ari.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ari.
Corey is Ari,
Mhm.
and like that. This is exactly how the game is gonna go.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah, I guess,
where's Miss Felicia?
yeah. I literally Miss Felicia. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that I really think that the I mean I'll be honest. I thought that the Traders was a total dud. I really
Oh, this is a little bit of a hot take.
I thought that it had an amazing ending,
Yes.
Mhm.
but it was a cakewalk. It
Too
was
easy.
Cirie's first Redemption Island.
Mhm.
Like
This is her second.
I know,
Mhm.
and like it was maybe not even Redemption Island. It was more so like kind of Karamoan, where like all the other returning players were her friends.
Yeah.
So, and look, like I love Cirie. I think she's an amazing player. It's just I find those seasons personally to be a little bit less interesting.
Mhm.
And I will say that as much as I do think it's an unfair advantage with Cirie here, I think that she has added so much to the actual television product, and it really is like fascinating to watch a master at work on the Big Brother live feeds.
Mhm.
Um, it's been really interesting and a good twist in that sense, but not in the sense of like having one rooting interest on this show.
Yeah. All right, Taryn, is there anything else you want to know about Corey's game or from anything from the Wurtenberger family?
Do you have a sense of like when he talked about like who he would like to be in the final two with, like jury management stuff, like what kind of strategies did he have coming in regarding like I would say both end game and how physical the comps are, and then also like who he would take to the final two and what his jury management is?
Yeah, Corey's very, very aware of the comps in
Hmm.
Big Brother. He's playing the game with the knowledge of like, I want, and I think that's part of why he loves this Surreal line so much. Is I think he sees that as like his bet, even if it's like not his best chance to like have someone take him. I think he sees it as his best chance to comp his way to the end.
Hmm.
Especially like, you know, I think that in that group, he would be the one that has the combination of like physical and also cares enough to like memorize the days, really like study that stuff. Um, so he's very keenly aware of that. I know that for him, the who he takes to the final two is something he was planning on like just thinking about from the get go because he knows himself. He knows that he's the 21-year-old and that like uh, a lot of seasons wouldn't want to give that person the money, and that he needs to find somebody that he straight up would be more respected than. Um,
Hmm.
so I think he's like constantly surveying the field. Obviously, there's a lot of game to be played, but you know, I think he is underestimating Felicia is the biggest one that we've seen because I think he
Hmm.
probably looks at her as like someone he could beat, and I don't really think that's the case. I
Yeah.
think she's too beloved. Um, seems like Mimi and America are people he really sees as like, okay, these are people I could definitely have a shot against. And he's
Hmm.
aware that like, and probably Izzy, he could have a very good shot against as well. And he's very aware like Cirie and Jared are going to be, oh, maybe not Jared anymore. But those are people that he would probably have the most issue with
Hmm.
Hmm.
at the end.
Zach, have any of the other family members reached out to you? I feel like that sometimes that happens in a Big Brother season where the family members of the contestants end up sort of becoming friends.
I've been in contact with, I don't even want to say who the family member is because it's very
Yes.
funny. I've been in contact with one family member, and it's just my favorite part of this. And again, I'm not complaining about Cirie. I don't care, whatever. I just find it funny how this family member messaged, and one of the first things he said is like, "Wow, this Cirie twist is really crazy, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hate it for Corey." And they were just like, "Oh my god, me too, thank God." That's what it is to like be literally watching
All
this
the
show.
family members don't love it that their loved one is going to lose to Cirie.
You know, it's like to watch one of these shows with like a soul. And that's why I asked you guys earlier, like, have you had this experience of like having, you know, a clear rooting interest in this way? Because I've never been this invested in a television character ever on on any reality or scripted program.
Yeah, I would never be able to cover the show if I had anywhere close to the amount of vested interest as you did. Yeah, like not even it
Oh
wouldn't
my
be
god,
possible.
that there would be no live feed update if you had a family member that went on the show.
It wouldn't work.
What about a fellow podcaster?
That's I mean, no offense to my fellow podcasters, but like I would be able to handle it. You know
Okay,
what
all right,
I mean?
okay.
Yeah, I really was like, I had someone ask me, they were like, "Who are you rooting for other than Corey?" And I was like, "What do you mean?"
All right. Well, Zach, this was very fun to get to check in, and I appreciate you coming on and making some time to talk with us anytime, let alone when Corey is on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. Zach, just to like pad your numbers as much as we can, where can people keep up with you?
You can keep up with me at Corey Wurtenberger.
Yes, because you run Corey's. So now, like, are people DMing Corey?
Yes,
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
a lot.
Yes.
It's you know, what's funny. So the one thing with Corey's social media is he was like, "You can run my social media. You have to make it explicitly clear that you are running my social media." That was his rule. He was like, "I don't want there to be any confusion that like it's me tweeting these things."
Yeah.
So the DMs I get are not people being like, "Corey, I'm in love with you." The DMs I get are, "Zach, I am in love with your brother.
Oh.
Please put in a good word." Yeah,
Is Corey's head gonna get a little big when he comes out of the house?
I really don't know. Reality
It
TV
happens.
does weird things to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his head is already big. So I think it's just gonna like, I think the thing for him is that he's like, you know, he's so in tune with the reality TV community, right?
Mm.
That he's seen the people that have annoyed him. And I think he's going to be very, like, very cautious and like playing to not become that person, um, at least on the surface.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the feeds tend to show a lot as we've seen this season. And I think it's a testament to his character so far that that he is so popular with a large portion of the audience because he has shown himself to be somebody who seems like a stand-up guy from what we've seen so far. And I think that it's a good sign.
Oh, he definitely is. And one of the biggest things that we talked about was just like, we both agreed, like, when you go into the house, just always assume that you're not liked.
Yeah.
Like, just play the game. Don't be one of those people who are coming in being like, "I think America's really rooting for me." America in the house might be rooting for him, but don't, because that's where people get in real trouble, and that's where people have like a very rude awakening when they come out. So if Corey comes out of this house and he's like super well liked, it's going to be like a dream come true. He's going to be so relieved. And if something turns and he ends up being like disliked by the end of the season, he's going to come out and be like, "Yeah, okay, that's what I expected."
All right. Well, Zach, thank you for making some time for us. Anything else you want to tell people to check out?
Anything else to check out? No. I mean, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll do this. I'll do this later. But there are other like family run accounts that people should follow.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
it's a weird spot for people, right? Especially like I had to boost to be like, already in this world.
Yeah.
But, like, no, you got people like poor DJ Bowie Jane, who's like, tweeting stuff out, and like people should be
You would tell people to
interacting with the
follow
content.
Bowie Jane on
Yeah,
Twitter?
follow at DJ Bowie Jane.
Does the Bowie Jane Twitter account have things to say?
It's a lot of like, let's go Bowie.
Mhm.
Let's go, Bowie.
Retweet if
Yeah.
you're Team Bowie.
Okay. All right. Well, what is the Bowie Jane Twitter account?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
It's
just pulled that
David
one out of
Bowie
my ass.
official. Is that it?
Bowie Jane official?
At David Bowie real?
David's dead.
He's dead, Rob.
Oh. Okay. Well, then
DJ
who's
Bowie
this
Jane.
Twitter account? Okay. All right. What is it?
At it's DJ Bowie Jane.
At it's DJ Bowie Jane.
Yeah, follow
Okay.
at it's DJ Bowie Jane.
Okay. All right. And then Taryn, and then you got a live feed update in the books already today. And then you'll be back tomorrow morning. What else is going on?
Just find me on Twitch, hanging out,
Mhm.
talking about all kinds of things like, that are on the feeds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. At it's DJ Bowie Jane. And just, is this a a big fan account or family account that here you go at DJ Bowie Jane.
Yeah, see, like 111 followers is not enough for someone who's currently on Big Brother.
Right.
I see
right.
you haven't yet hit the follow button, Rob.
Not yet. Retweet if you're Team Bowie, and we could see 15 people are Team Bowie so far.
Give
so
that one a retweet.
yeah.
I will say one of my favorite recent tweets I've seen was like, it was like Bowie Jane 7 minutes into pressure cooker. It was her sleeping.
Yes. What's going to be Corey's reaction to the pressure cooker? He's going to go crazy.
Oh, he's going to be so excited. Like, I don't even know if strategically he should win that one. Like, it'll probably be okay if he just ends up targeting like a red, maybe. But that's the one thing I think he might just be like, I want to win this and figure it out later.
Okay.
That's really going to get his like super fan, like just radar. Like, I need to win this one.
Will any part of him feel like he has to evict Cirie on a pressure cooker when, just for the sake of history, just you have to evict the most popular player?
The moment Corey wins HOH, he will be thinking to himself, all right, do I take Cirie out now? Like, that is he's very aware. This is Big Brother 19. This is like, he's seen he's heard this song before.
Oh, pissed. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. It's very fun to catch up with Zach. Take care, everybody. And we'll be back Sunday night to talk about the latest Big Brother TV episode right after it ends. And hopefully no more delays on Sunday night. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.